Do you move week to week without a logical plan? How do you know what you did last week was impactful, or if what you're going to do next week is going to move you closer to your goal? Well, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about planning and a different approach. Today, we're going to talk about weekly reflections. This is a very important topic for entrepreneurs and those aspiring to start their own business. But before we get started, I have to remind you to click the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified of my videos that post every Tuesday. So with that said, let's get started. So, what is a weekly reflection? A weekly reflection is time that you set aside so that you can reflect on what you were able to accomplish last week, what you weren't able to accomplish last week, and what you need to do for the week coming. It's your time. It should be time where you are uninterrupted, where you can sit down and think. The benefit of doing a weekly review covers a few items. First off, it's part of the plan, do, review process. You plan, then you execute, then you have a weekly reflection or your review. Another benefit of weekly reflection is planning for the future. As you know, you want to take a look at history because history can repeat itself, positive or negative, as well as you want to plan for the future based off of your goals. Next, there's a sense of accomplishment that you feel looking back at all of the things that you were able to achieve. And that accomplishment, that feeling of accomplishment, helps you move forward and want to execute the next week coming. Weekly reflections can also help you gain clarity and allow you to see what you are spending a majority of your time on so that you can appropriately redistribute your time to something that is more impactful and meaningful that will move you closer to your goal. Next, let's talk about where to actually do your weekly review. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't matter where you do your weekly review. Just do it. You need to be in a place where it's nice and quiet, away from where you would typically do your work so that you are comfortable and your creative juices are flowing. It could take place in a coffee shop. It could take place in your living room. It could take place at a park, sitting on a bench. Doesn't matter. Just make sure that you block out the time so that you can sit down and truly focus for about an hour or two on what you did last week, reviewing those items. You just need to plan for the coming week so that you can execute on what will move you closer to your goal. Next, let's talk about when to do it. I typically do it on a Sunday morning, but generally I've heard that people do weekly reflections Friday afternoon before they leave their office, Saturday morning, Sunday evenings. Again, it does not matter at what point in time that you do it, as long as it's towards the end of your week before the beginning of the next. You just need to do it. You also need to make sure that you block it out in your calendar just as if it's an appointment. Remember, we talked about time blocking last week. This is one of those items that definitely needs to be time blocked on your calendar. So now let's talk about what to do or how to do it. So first off, you're going to need a pen and a piece of paper. I typically use my weekly reflection journal to write all my information into. And then you have to ask yourself a series of questions. I've had my questions written down, so I'm going to read them to you so as to not miss any of the questions that we want to talk about. First off, we want to ask ourselves what worked well for us last week. We want to make sure that we understand what went well so that we can replicate what happened. Next, you want to ask yourself, what challenges did you face? There's always something to learn from a challenge. The next question that you want to ask yourself is, did I accomplish my weekly big three? We talked about big three when we were discussing time management and planning in our earlier discussions, in our earlier videos. You also want to ask yourself, did you accomplish your big daily three? Each day, did you take care of those big three nuggets that you needed to accomplish to keep moving your goal forward to success? Another question you need to ask yourself is, did I work on the most important task at a time when I tend to be most focused and productive? This we discussed in regards to your peak productivity time. Taking care of those big three, daily, weekly, during your productivity time will make sure that you actually have the energy and motivation to get them accomplished. Another question to ask yourself is, are there any action items that can be delegated to someone else to accomplish? This is very important because if there's an item that does not necessarily call for your attention, it can be accomplished by someone else. If you delegate that item, you'll then be able to take your time and use it towards something that's more impactful. Another question is, are there any action items on my list that I do that do not add any value to my long-term, mid-term, or short-term goals? Take a look at those action items and see if they really are needed to move the momentum, the stick forward on your goals. If not, you need to make the decision if it needs to remain on your action item list or if you can just cross it off. A few other questions. There's a lot that I have here, but a couple other questions that are really good for you to ask yourself is, did you learn anything new last week? You have to continue to learn. If you don't continue learning, you become stagnant and truly you begin to die. Another question, what was my greatest accomplishment last week? Again, make sure that you understand what was good last week, what you accomplished, and take that motivation into the next week. And lastly, most important to me, what am I grateful for? So that's the review process for your weekly review. Now you need to start thinking about the planning portion of the process. Remember, 1 hour of planning will save you 10 hours of doing. So when you're planning, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind. First, you need to start your planning process with your goals, your written goals in front of you. You need to also make sure that you have all of the notes from last week so that you can review your action items that need to be accomplished in this coming week, so that you can continue to move momentum towards success. You also want to make sure that you decide on what your big three for the week are going to be, again, to keep you on that track to success for your goals. And lastly, you want to look at all of the action items that you didn't accomplish last week, and if they are worth moving forward, that you actually do take care of that in your planning phase. And do your time blocking. Make sure that you get those action items blocked onto your calendar so that they will be accomplished. To help you get started on your weekly reflection as well as planning, I've attached the time management journal down below that has all the questions that you need to assist you on starting a weekly reflection. Of course, as you continue to do your weekly reflection, you can modify those questions, change it up, whatever it is that you need to do. But by all means, just get started. On another note, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group called The Executive Lounge. It's a community of like-minded individuals who share business ideas and information as well as network. The link for The Executive Lounge is below in the description as well. Be sure to check out these videos on goal setting and time management so you can continue to grow and be successful with your goals. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe below and be sure to share it with a friend. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye, y'all.